Hello everyone, hope you are doing okay. Today is, let me show you the date. It's, no, it's, how is the recording? Oh, like this. 11th of March, and it's currently 12:38 a.m. in the morning. Oh, flashlight is quite nice. Yeah. So today is day 5 of me reading for 20 minutes every day until I improve my articulation. So today let's not wait any time and set up a timer, because I have been waiting a lot of time, wasting a lot of time in previous videos. So let me set up a timer for 21 minutes. Yeah. So the timer has started. We were on chapter 3. We have to start chapter 3 today. So let's start. And I hope you guys are doing okay. And let's stop yapping. How to build better habits. How to build better habits in 4 simple steps. In 1998, I cannot see it. I have to turn off this light. Yeah. It was, what's the word for it? I couldn't see because of it. So that's why I had to do it. In 1898, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike conducted an experiment that would lay the foundation for our understanding of how habits form and the rules that guide our behavior. Thorndike was interested in studying the behavior of animals, and he started by working with cats. He would place each cat inside a device known as a puzzle box. The box was designed so that the cat could escape through a door by some simple act, such as pulling a loop of cord, pressing a lever, or stepping on a platform. For example, one box contained a lever that, when pressed, would open a door to the side of the box. Once the door had been opened, the cat could dart out and run over to a bowl of food. Most cats wanted to escape as soon as they were placed inside the box. They would poke their nose into the corners, stick their paws through openings, and claw at loose objects. After a few minutes of exploration, the cat would happen to press the magical lever. The door would open, and they would escape. Thorndike tracked the behavior of each cat across many trials. In the beginning, the animals moved around the box at random, but as soon as the lever had been pressed and the doors opened, the process of learning began. Gradually, each cat learned to associate the action of pressing the lever with the reward of escaping the box and getting to the food. After 20 to 30 trials, this behavior became so automatic and habitual that the cat could escape within a few seconds. For example, Thorndike noted cat 12 took the following times to perform the act: 160 seconds, 30 seconds, 90 seconds, 60 seconds, 15 seconds, 28 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 22 seconds, 11 seconds, 15 seconds, 20, 12, 10, 14, 10, 8, 8, 5, 10, 8, 6, 6, 7. During the first 3 trials, the cat cat escaped in an average of 1.5 minutes. During the last three trials, it escaped on an average of 6.3 seconds. With practice, each cat made fewer, fewer errors and their action became quicker and more automatic. Rather than repeat the same, Rather than repeat the same mistakes, the cat began to cut straight to the solution. From his studies, Thorndike described the learning process by stating behaviors followed by satisfying consequence tend to be repeated, and those that produce unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated. His works provide the perfect starting point for discussing how habits form in our own lives. It also provides answer to some fundamental questions like what are habits and how does the brain bother building them and why does the brain bother building them at all? Why your brain builds habits. A habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. The process of habit formation begins with trial and error. Whenever you encounter a new situation in life, your brain has to make a decision. How do I respond to this? The first time you come across a problem, you're not sure how to solve it. Like Thorndike's cat. Like Thorndike's cat, you are just trying things out to see what works. Neurological activity in the brain is high during this period. You are carefully analyzing the situation and making conscious decisions about how you act. About how you act. You are taking in tons of new information and trying to make sense of it all. The brain is busy learning the most effective course of action. The brain is busy learning the most effective course of action. Occasionally, like a cat pressing on a lever, you stumble across a solution. You're feeling anxious and you discover that going for a run calms you down. You are mentally exhausted from a long day of work and you learn that playing video games relaxes you. You are exploring and then bam, a reward. After you stumble upon an unexpected reward, you alter your strategy for next time. Your brain immediately begins to catalog the events that preceded the events. Catalog the events. The brain immediately begins to catalog the events that preceded the reward. Wait a minute, that felt good. What did I do right before that? This is the feedback loop behind all human behavior. Try, fail, learn, try differently. With practice, the useless movements fade away, and the useful actions get reinforced. That's the habit formation. That's a habit forming. Whenever you face a problem repeatedly, your brain begins to automate the process of solving it. Your habits are just a series of automatic solutions that solve the problem and stresses you face regularly. As behavioral scientist Jason Hera, Jason Hera, 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 Jason Hera writes, habits are simply reliable solutions to recurring problems in our environment. Reliable solutions to recurring problems in our environment. As habits are created, the level of activity in the brain decreases. You learn to lock it on cues that predict success and tune out everything else. You learn to lock it on cues that predict success and tune out everything else. When a similar situation arises in the future, you know exactly what to look for. There is no longer need to analyze every angle of situation. Your brain skips the process of trial and error and creates a mental rule. If this, then that. These cognitive scripts can be followed automatically when the situation is appropriate. whenever the situation is appropriate. Now, whenever you feel stressed, you get the itch to run. As soon as you in the door, walk in the door from work, you grab the video game controller. A choice that once required effort is now automatic. A habit has been created. Habits are mental shortcuts learned from experience. In sense, a habit is just a memory of steps you previously followed to solve a problem in the past. Whenever the conditions are right, you can draw on this memory and automatically apply the same solution. The primary reason the brain remembers the past is to predict what will work in the future. Habit formation is incredibly useful because the conscious mind is the bottleneck of the brain. Bro, it's getting too complicated. Habit has been created. Choice that once required effort is now automatic. A habit has been created. Habits are mental shortcuts learned from experience. In a sense, a habit is just a memory of steps you previously followed to solve a problem in the past. Whenever the conditions are right, you can draw on this memory and whenever the conditions are right, you can draw on this memory and automatically apply the same solution. The primary reason the brain remembers, oh, now I understand. Now I understand. The primary reason the brain remembers the past is to better predict what will work in the future. Habit formation is incredibly useful. Habit formation is incredibly useful because the conscious mind is the bottleneck of the brain. Oh, incredibly useful because the conscious mind is the bottleneck of the brain. So it's the tiny opening to the brain. Conscious mind is the tiny opening to the bottleneck of the brain. It can only pay attention to one problem at a time. Okay. As a result, your brain is always working to preserve your conscious attention for whatever task is most essential. Whenever possible, the conscious mind likes to pawn off tasks to the non-conscious mind to do automatically. This is precisely what happens when a habit is formed. Habits reduce cognitive load and free up mental capacity so you can allocate your attention to other tasks. Despite the efficiency, some people still wonder about the benefits of habit. The argument goes like, will habits make my life dull? I don't want to pigeonhole myself into a lifestyle I don't enjoy. Doesn't so much routine take away the vibrancy and spontaneity of life? Hardly. Such questions set up false dichotomy. Dichotomy. I just I'll search it later on. No, I have to do it now. Please stop. Dichotomy. Separation that exists between two groups of things that are completely opposite and differ from each other. Okay. Creates a false dichotomy. They make you think that you have to choose between building habits and attaining freedom. Attaining freedom. In reality, the two complement each other. Habits do not restrict freedom, they create it. In fact, the people who don't have the habits handled, are often the ones with the least amount of freedom. Without good financial habits, you will always be struggling for the next dollar. Without good health habits, you will always seem to be short on energy. Without good learning habits, you will always feel like you are behind the curve. If you have always been forced to make decisions about simple tasks, if you are always being forced to make simple decisions forced to make decisions about simple tasks. When should I work out? Where do I go to write? Where do I play? Where do I pay the bills? Then you have less time for freedom. It's only to it's only by making the fundamentals of life easier that you can create mental space needed for free thinking and creativity. Conversely, when you have habits dialed in and the basics of life are handled and done, your mind is free to focus on new challenges and master the next set of problems. Building habits in the present allows you to do more of what you want in the future. The science of how habits work. The process of building a habit can be divided into four simple steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. We studied this in the introductory part of this book. The process of building a habit can be divided into four. The science of how habits work. Breaking it down into these fundamental parts can help us understand what habit is and how it works and how to improve it. All habits proceed through four stages in the same order: cue, craving, response, and reward. The four-step pattern in this is the backbone of every habit. Your brain runs through these steps in the same order each time. First is the cue. The cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. It is a bit of information that predicts a reward. It is a bit of information that predicts a reward. Our prehistoric ancestors were paying attention to the cues that signaled that a location of primary rewards like food, water, and sex. Will I get uh, age restricted for these words? Please comment down, I don't know. Today we spend most of our time learning cues that predict secondary rewards like money and fame, power, status, praise and approval, love and friendship, or of fame, or a sense of personal satisfaction. Of course, these pursuits also indirectly improve our odds of survival and reproduction, which is the deeper motive behind everything we do. Okay, so life is all about survival and reproduction. Your mind is consciously analyzing your internal and external environments for hints of where rewards are located, because the cue is the first indication that we are close to a reward. It naturally leads to a craving. Craving is the second step. Craving are the second step, and they are the motivational force behind every habit. Without some level of motivation or desire, without craving a change, we have no reason to act. What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change in state it delivers. You do not crave smoking a cigarette, you crave the feeling of relief it provides. So, what do we call it? I couldn't focus. I wasn't paying attention to whatever I read right now. What was the last line I understood? Today we spend most of our time learning cues that predict secondary rewards. Okay, so ancestors paid attention to primary rewards like food, water, and sex. Today we spend most of our secondary rewards: money, fame, power. Even though at a deeper level they satisfy our primary motive, primary rewards. Your mind is consciously analyzing your internal and external environments for hint of rewards for of where rewards are located, because the cue is the first indication that we are close to a reward. It naturally leads to craving. Cue. What is cue? It's like cue is like a signal. Signal. Yeah. First indication. It's like an indication, yeah. Cravings are the second step, and they are the motivational force behind every habit. Without some level of motivation or desire, without craving a change, you don't have no reason to act. What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change. But in change, but the change in state delivers. Okay, so we don't crave the habit, but the change it brings. You don't crave smoking a cigarette. You crave the feeling of relief it provides. Okay, you are not motivated by brushing your teeth, but rather by the feeling of clean mouth. You do not want to turn on television. You want to be entertained. Okay. You want to be entertained. Every craving is linked to a desire to change your internal state. This is an important point that we will discuss in detail later. Cravings differ from person to person. In theory, any piece of information could trigger a craving, but in practice, people are not motivated by same cues. For a gambler, the sound of slot machine can be a potent trigger that spark an intense wave of desire. Okay, for a gambler, the sound of slot machine can trigger an intense wave of desire. For someone who rarely gambles, the jingles and chimes of the casino are just background noises. Cues are meaningless until they are interpreted. The thoughts, feelings, and emotions of the observer are what transform a cue into a craving. Okay, cues are signals. It's how we accept it that it turns into craving. The third step is the response. Do I read it further? Let me just complete this page. The third step is the response. The response is the actual habit you perform, which can take the form of a thought or an action. Whether a response occurs depends on how motivated you are and how much friction is associated with that behavior. If a particular action requires more physical or mental effort than you are willing to expend, then you won't do it. Your response also depends on your ability. It sounds simple, but a habit can occur only if you are capable of doing it. If you want to dunk a basketball but cannot jump high enough to reach the hoop, well, you are out of luck. Finally, the response delivers reward. Rewards are the end goal of every habit. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about waiting for the reward. The response is about obtaining the reward. We chase rewards because they serve two purposes. One, they satisfy us, and the second, they teach us. We read up to page number 49. We read 2 paragraphs today on this page. Was I focusing on something else? What am I focusing on? Yeah. So that's it. Do I need to revise everything? No, I don't have the time today. I'll do it later on. Okay guys, that's it for today. I hope you liked the video and the journey I'm going through. I'll appreciate you all to find your purpose in your life too. And I think it's important for everyone to have a clear mind, because then only we can think about the, what we want in our life. If we are not, if our mind is not free, then we cannot think about anything. It's like we are robots. We just perform actions what we are told to do. So please think, start to think. Stay bored, stay motivated. Goodbye.